Grand Rise, Willie Whittle. It shall be dope. This is the pod. Let's get into it. So, when you go to work or you go do whatever you do, some people have home based businesses, some people work from remote or whatever you do, however you go get money, right? I feel like whatever environment you're in plays a big part in your like psyche throughout the day. Um, but also, I'm a big believer in like how you present yourself, the energy that you give, the energy that you get, right? Well, one of the things that I used to take pride in being the worker that I am, and like my drive and my hustle was to move in silence. I felt like if I was moving in silence and it wasn't a lot of you know politics, chatter, whatever around what I did or what I'm doing, then I'm doing it right. If it's a lot of noise coming from your area, then somebody's upset. Something's not rocking right. Um, and that's the one who gets looked at the most, right? That's where this is high visibility. We need to pay attention to this and what's going on in this area and how we can fix it. And then there's a whole bunch of people picking in your stuff, like, and you're like, man, listen, like, I'm really just trying to do me, and if doing me is not the right thing, then now I have to address a whole nother issue. But I never really had that issue. I never really had that issue. Every once in a while you get the escalation that you got to go through or whatever, and it's cool. It's cool, right? Like you deal with it. But oftentimes, excuse me, guys. Oftentimes, in some capacity, you have the people who are the squeaky wheel, and they go out and then they either like escalate everything or they praise everything that they do, even if it's more normal than most. Um, I've never been the type of person to try to chase the shine like that. And one of the words that I used to hate the most was like cloud chase. Like cloud chasing is the word, like one of the worst words to me. But like you go out and hey, I did this, celebrate. Um, it was a movie that was Ice Cube movie. I want to call it The Comebacks. Um, I had to look it up real quick, but it was an Ice Cube movie, and the long shots. My apologies, the long shots. And in the long shots, they scored. It was a movie about kids, some kids football, and Pop Warner football league, and Ice Cube was the coach of this group of kids that needed all the guidance that they could get. Well, long story short, like one of these kids scored this touchdown, and they were so hyped that they did the touchdown dance for so long that they didn't even recognize like the rest of the game was going on, right? And so the next day at practice, Ice Cube shows up and he's like, he said, "All right, run this play," and then they run the play. And he's like, "Man, that's what's up! Like I did so good drawing that play." Like, and he just like starts doing dancing and stuff, and the kids are looking at him like, "What is his problem? Like he's doing a lot for, for doing his job, right?" And one of the things that he taught them, which it was a thing that I've heard before, but I really liked how they depicted it in this movie, was he was like, "Nope, now everybody, give me like score a touchdown and give me your best touchdown dance. I want you to like give me everything you got, right?" And after they all went in and got as silly as they wanted to be and do their touchdown dances and stuff, um, he was like, "You want to see how I used to score touchdowns?" Like yeah. And when he scored, he went over and he handed the ball to the ref. No, energy, emotion, or whatever. Just respectfully handed the ball to the ref, and he was like, the thing about scoring is you can tell if you've done it before or not. So when you score, act like you've been there before, right? When you achieve something, act like you've been there before. It's different when people see something happen and it's brand new. And that first feeling of like, scoring your first bucket in a big game, or like scoring a touchdown in a football game, or even knocking out your first project, things like that, taking it back to like the 9 to 5, like, cause we not all, we not all athletes and stuff like that, but it's like when you get that first win on you, and yeah, you want to celebrate, you want to turn up. But one of my mantras has become like, act like you've been there before. And in many occasions I have, right? I've been in positions, I've been in, my field for a really long time. None of this is really new to me. It's just whatever you get today. Like, it's how you act and what you get out of today, and you get the small win of the day. So I act like I've been there before. The truth be told, I have. When I first used to win, I used to be like, man, I did that. Like, now I'm a little less, like, I want to say arrogant, cocky maybe, or, whatever you want to call it, prideful. And I just continue to move forward with, the business as usual. My point is that, I feel like I run myself like a well-oiled machine. I feel like if the machine is moving, you definitely got to maintain it. You got to pay attention and maintain that it's still doing the right thing, the proper things. But as it moves, it just produces. And, I don't really, like I said before, I don't really go for the whole shine and the recognition and stuff. And then as I do my normal job scope just expands. The person who I am just expands. Like, I just grow and become this dynamic force in this space. And there's nothing wrong with that, but I think one of the things that does happen is like, if you're not the squeaky wheel, you don't get the recognition. And, I've seen some things where, if you shout it out, then hey, oh, well, good job for telling us, right? But not good job for doing this, or however they try to mix the two. And to me, it's like, well, you either want to watch me or you want me to tell you. You either want to see the results or, hear the results that I can feed you. It doesn't matter that I messed up 5 times last week, which not me, right? That ain't my move. It doesn't matter as long as I could blatantly tell you this one thing that I did quite well. And I think that society just breeds like, a little bit of laziness, because I pride myself on being a leader. I really do. And one of the things that I used to do as a leader was assess my people on a weekly, bi-weekly basis. When you're close to the people that you're with, you can have in-depth conversations with them, and it touches a different chord than the reprimand, right? You can sit down and say like, no, I know you. I know this is some you stuff right here, and this is what you like to do, and you really don't like to be bothered, and that's cool. I get it. But let me ask you this. Let me do this, and let me coordinate this for you. You get to tailor some leadership towards this person. And, this is coming from somebody who had like 36 reports and 4 supervisors under them at one point, to make sure that they all knew what direction they naturally flowed in, right? That's a huge piece. So I feel like sometimes the whole leadership piece gets overlooked, and it's just more of a function than it is a true fit. And you really don't want to just be a pencil pusher, as a leader. You got to have a certain dynamic and decorum about yourself, because when the squeaky wheel squeaks, you definitely got to listen. You definitely got to listen. But then you got to even out the fact that, like, okay, if you're the squeaky wheel all the time and you're craving oil, then at some point your well-oiled machine won't have any oil to process, and then you're going to burn out your well-oiled machine. And if you do that, if you think about the concept in that aspect, like, what ends up happening is that's when most of us get burnt out in places where we're at. Like, you really thrive for excellence. Like, I had a conversation with one of my colleagues, and the point was like, kind of like the Big Sean song, one man can change the world. I can't sing today, guys. I'm sorry. It's one of those things, but when I'm feeling it, I'm feeling it. But when Big Sean said, being black, you had the extra try. And you do. Like, there's a lot of things in our world where we got to try so much more than others. And not even in a true comparative, well, it is a true comparative sense. But even then, I don't like to fail. And in my world, in my imagery, in my persona of, if I start to fail, then I'm failing my family. I'm failing my whole, like, regime. You know what I mean? And I can't do that. Not me being who I am. Right? I'm here. I'm the leader. I am the one who's supposed to take us to a different place. And I can't fail. So when I get, the concept of, well, you probably need to speak up and talk on certain things more. I get it. I can agree with that. But, we really have to get to a point where the recognition is there. And I don't want to go through the culture recognition of, hey, I did this, guys, look at me. And like, oh, yeah, good job. No, it's like, man, listen, this whole corner over here has got it under control. And we don't have to really pay attention to it that much. It's just happening. It's like, yeah, it's happening. Like, oh, that's awesome. Like, so now we really don't have to worry about this. And that's a lot to be said for, for that. So I really feel like, you got to take pride in being the well-oiled machine. And, you got to big up the squeaky wheels, too, because they still have to do what they feel is right. But for me, I really pride myself on being a well-oiled machine. I think that's what I try to instill. And then from my leadership perspective, I try to make sure that people understand that they're being oiled. Pause, like, but no Diddy. That they're being oiled up. Yeah, definitely no Diddy. At least in the sense of their professionalism or their development, their character development. Because at the end of the day, like, if you're a leader, you're building character. You're building the development of a person who's going to move on to a whole nother place and want to feel great, be great, feel strong and empowered. I read a quote off LinkedIn the other day, and it was like, it was talking about loyalty to a job. And we all seek this, like, loyalty to a place, and, jobs be like, we're family. Well, you're not. Like, you are literally, leasing my time here, and I can go somewhere else where they can lease me for 40 hours a week. And, we're all, no matter what kind of job you have, you're all consultants in the space that you're in. The job will continue. They will have for 100 years McDonald's fry cooks. They will have for hundreds of years logistics analysts, logistics specialists, logistics managers. They will for 100 years have marketing teams, sales teams, and all of the things within any corporation that you can look forward to and think. You ever looked at, like, some of these places and you see the oldest picture and it'd be like, back in 18 something, this company was derived or whatever. And you're like, yeah, who did my job back then? But they, definitely wasn't waiting on you, and you're definitely not the second coming. So, you do what you're supposed to do, and you give it the energy that they asked for because it's fair. But man, at the end of the day, like I like to be a well-oiled machine, and I like to just get me my peace. Like I want to go home afterwards, and I want to just say, "Hey, I did my thing." I don't want to people too much. If you go back to like some of my first pods, like peopling is crazy. I think it burns people out the most. So you really don't want to be in here peopling. So you just go in, you knock your job out, and then you go home and you enjoy what's supposed to be the reason why you get up and go to work in the first place. Um, but that's part of the mission. I know, one of my colleagues, one of my colleagues slash best friends now. Like she's told me like we're doing it wrong. We're doing things wrong as far as like stopping, taking breaks, take your time, and go eat, right? But go eat in peace. Don't eat in front of your computer. Don't eat don't eat lunch and work at the same time. Like go separate yourself from the two, and then when it's time to work. Like give it your 110. But stop and then take that time to disconnect because it becomes a very important thing to your mental health. So, I'm adopting that. I'm adopting some newer or revamped ways of just getting my peace back. So this is some things that I'm going to need for my character development and aiding, my greatness. So as we go, um, long story short, as always, continue to walk the path. Make sure that your mission is peace. And as long as you do that with love, it shall be dope. All right. Thank you all. Have a good one.